Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. We'll do 110. I think it's nicer when it's a little bit bigger. Okay, sick. Anyways, welcome to my patch 8.3 rundown. I'll also be covering API itemization changes that were announced today as well. This one's coming out a little bit late because I had some real life problems earlier. Anyways, usually before every patch, I talk about what I think are the issues with the current patch before we delve on to what I hope gets changed. So there's going to be nothing different this time. In this patch, let's talk about a couple things that I think are annoying. So for mid lane, I just generally holistically, let's talk stopwatch. I think stopwatch is a really interesting item. Um, I actually like that stopwatch is an option in the game. However, I think that it's enabling itself, or comes online too quickly in the game. It shouldn't come online 30 seconds after you solo laners hit level 6, because you're really not even given a window to be, especially assassins aren't given windows to even use their burst before they have to deal with a stopwatch on top of either barrier or exhaust, and just having to blow through that many different road stuff. Like, I have to spend a 90-second cooldown blowing through stopwatch or barrier, another 90-second one to go through you know stopwatch, another 90-second one for when barrier comes back up, because they're running spellbook, and by then he's already itemized and built lasagnas. So or he's the game's already into mid game and he's grouping up, and I can't assassinate him or her as easily. And I think that's the real problem with this. And there's a lot of champions that got nerfed because of this. Champions like Rise, which is getting nerfed a lot now. Or I think that interaction between stopwatch got nerfed this patch. I was told that it did. It's because it allows Rise to do that too early. Usually, if Rise wanted to do that, he'd have to rush it or go with second item or third item and deviate a lot from his normal build. Nowadays, he gets it early, then builds in the second item, and the build path is into it, and so it's super efficient. It's really good. I hope that going into the patch notes that the time duration goes up to at least 8 minutes, if not later. That way, there's bigger windows for people to be able to make plays. On top of this, I think Rageblade is too much of a problem right now. I think that as I talked a little bit about this before, but as bot lane started to want power earlier, bot lane used to be a 3-item spike lane, and now it's a 2-item spike lane, and now it's shifted from a 2-item spike lane to a 1-item spike lane. So any attack speed users right now are super powerful, Varus and Cog, especially off Rageblade, and they're able to spike on 1-item purchase. And I think that that's really that's pretty bad. But I also know that this is also an extension of the fact that other stronger ADs like Ezreal were nerfed, and it lines up really easily for champions like Varus and Kog'Maw to go in, because these are also the champions that Varus especially can provide utility, as well as they can shred frontline really, really easily. So I think that Rageblade is the problem as opposed to the champions, and I think those are the two things that I'd like to see adjusted. On top of that, I'm just gonna wait to see what they do. So let's just keep going. The new Swain comes out. He's sick. I played against Swain in the playtest at Riot the other day. I got my ass beat. He's pretty cool, but I think he's going to follow the same play pattern as being very oppressive against melee champs, which is, if that's going to be his niche, it's going to be his niche. It's okay. Dude, I understand the mic has issues, but there's nothing I can do about it. I already said. I'll turn it down a little bit in case it helps. Azir Q cooldown increase to early ranks. Azir's early lane strength is keeping other mid laners from having enough agency early game, especially at high levels of play. Azir soldiers attacks now draw minion aggro to Azir. I thought they did this automatically, unless he cut through the minions. So this is obviously really good. Forces the minion wave to shift away, especially if they aggro. And this is a huge nerf, especially early. If you dodge one of his Qs by either going in or by sidestepping it, then he has a really big 15-second window for you to return aggression. That's a really big window. I don't necessarily know if he needed. I mean, Azir's pretty strong right now. I don't mind nerfs like this. This just normalizes what's already happening with everyone else mid, so it's more of an adjustment. This is a pretty big early game nerf. I like it. I think Azir's pretty good as he is. Could use some tuning down. Jarvan with Sejuani are the two best junglers in competitive right now. Jarvan, actually, I don't see much Jarvan in solo queue. Surprising enough, maybe just the fact that he's not super fun for most people to play. Kha'Zix being like probably much better at snowballing the jungle, so they nerfed a little bit of his armor. Jarvan actually already gets kind of low in the jungle, so this is going to be really interesting because it should allow you to actually run in early levels, level 3, and just mess with him because he can't get fully sustainable clears almost ever with this champion unless he gets a really, really good leash, and even afterwards, this should help out a lot. Jhin, are base damage increased at later ranks? Doesn't matter. He's still not very good because I would say that he just doesn't give you the amount of power that Kog'Maw or Varus does early, and he definitely doesn't give the power late game. So I think he doesn't have a niche, and this isn't gonna do anything for him. Katarina, passive damage decreased. That's a pretty big. If you're gonna hit nerfing the passive damage is like it's all of her damage. Like her passive should be about a good 50% of how you do damage on this champion, if not more. So what did they end up nerfing? By 7 to 47. She's still gonna be fine. I don't even think this is as big of a nerf as the E nerf before. Hopefully this means that they're not going to touch Cat afterwards, because I think that she is one of the only viable assassin champions at the moment mid lane, and I would like to keep her there. But it's like a nice touch to at the very edges, but it doesn't make it so that people who are dying to Cat before died less to Cat. I think that it's relatively negligible until you get to mid late game, and that's by then. Your Cat's fed, or the Cat player should be playing really well to be able to have to perform in those two areas, because team fighting against Cat is really difficult actually, unless your setup is perfect. Kog'Maw, W max damage decreased at later ranks. Cog's damage is spiking too hard even with one item. Less damage from his basic attack murder tool should force him to rely more on items. So they nerfed it by 5%. It also nerfs the synergy with Rageblade. I don't. Is this like a thing where the champion's the problem or the item? I think maybe it's a little bit of both. But I would have hit the item first and then see what will happen. The problem is by hitting the item, it's already a niche item, so only like 4 champions in the game buy it anyways. And then I guess if they don't buy it, then no one buys the item. So maybe the item should still exist and just be really good on certain champions. But their idea to nerf Kog'Maw was to nerf his W. It's okay. I think he needed a nerf in some way, shape, or form, and this is reasonable. Lucian, passive damage increased at early ranks. Passive crit damage increased. Lucian could use some love, but we want to make sure the majority of it is felt through traditional bot lane carry-oriented builds, which means crit, right? So he does more AD on the second shot, and it crits for 50% more. That's nice. I don't necessarily think this will bring back the Essence Reaver build, but at least it means that him going. I remember reading that going Bork into Shiv. That sounds like a good build, and that's probably what you're gonna see a lot of Lucian's build at the moment. I like it. I think it's nice. Any buffs to champions like Lucian are, especially I think this champ just sucks because of his low range, are really cool, because this is like a very aggressive oriented AD. Like, people who play this champion want to be in the face of the enemy team, and doing that right now is pretty suicidal, so I'm down to give him a little bit of love. Master Yi. We think Master Yi needs a lot of gameplay improvement. He doesn't seem so weak in the meantime. We're giving him a bit more damage so he can stop feeling like Mr. Yi. Oh, I see what they're doing there. Mana cost decrease. It's nice. Probably shines the most after alpha striking one target, like multiple times in a team fight. If you're cleaning up, not huge. And this is actually pretty big, right? 4 to bonus AD. The thing is, what's the most successful Master Yi build? At the moment, isn't it going? I don't see many Yis go the AD oriented build. I see them going the attack speed oriented build and just like laying into the other team. I don't mind them encouraging going the more AD glass cannon style build. But generally, this is a champion that I think that just needs to be shelved for a rework. Like they could do a lot with this champ. I think he should be like really cool, you know. And I think that he doesn't feel very cool. So he should be shelved for a rework. In the meantime, any buffs to him, I don't care. This isn't going to take him over the top. And anyone who plays E right now, I don't think this is going to affect his win rate or his play much at all. Rise. Activating stopwatch or Zhonya now cancels Rise ulti. It's exactly what I was told. So this is just because you get stopwatch so early. And they say, yeah, this is exactly the reason why. I'm glad it's out of the game. I think it makes it so you can't buff Rise. Like, I think Rise has problems with his mobility, but at the top level, Rise is, like, if the Rise player is playing well and playing around, like, good vision, you're only given a couple options to be able to camp Rise before he hits his spikes. And this was part of the reason why it was impossible to be able to force him down before he gets there. Now that this is out of the game, this allows Riot to be able to rebuff Rise, to be able to play around the fact that like you should be rewarded for being able to hit like the 2-item spikes on Rise because his mobility sucks, right? Sejuani, key cooldown increased at early ranks. Sejuani is pretty good at everything. She's a late game scaling tank with good damage. Yeah, she was the best assassin last season. I agree. She doesn't need that high early game mobility. Oh, they're nerfing 4 seconds off early game Q. Wow. It's actually a humongous deal too because this goes in the mid game. It's the last thing you max, right? You go W max into E for the extended CC. So you're sitting at 17-second cooldown being for most of the game. Actually, really, really big nerf to her. I mean, I like it. I think Sedge is too good. This generally brings the power level of all the competitive junglers down a little, which should hopefully allow you to see more different types of junglers. Maybe because of stuff like this and the Jarvan nerf, Zac becomes higher priority. Maybe Gragas comes up as well. Maybe we'll see Kha'Zix even more. And Rengar, we'll see. Tryndamere, base damage at later ranks increased. E bonus damage ratio increased. Like Master Yi, Tryndamere could just use some more damage right now. Oh, they're buffing his AD growth. And his E gets a 10% bonus slash. All the fervor users feel a little weak, right? So they're buffing a lot of them, and I don't think this does anything. Maybe it does. Fog was in my chat earlier. Maybe he can tell me if this does anything for Tryndamere. He's still not going to be a great champion. I don't think you pick this champion over either the 2 split pushers that are higher priority right now, in Jax or Camille. And I struggle to see where you really would pick this champion. But I'm sure Tryndamere One Tricks will really love him. Yeah, this is also a champ that needs a rework. Throw this guy on the rework bus, man. Right next to Volibear and Aatrox and what else? Who else did I say need a rework? Master Yi. A Victor. Okay, this champion has problems. When the best Victor player in North America that's not an LCS pro drops Victor because he sucks, I think there's a problem. This doesn't mean that I think Victor is as bad as his win rate is, which I think is like the lowest win rate like champion in the game next to Rise. I do think though that he could use a lot of love. So what did they end up doing? It's partially defined by ability to one-shot opponents with Q with Lichbane. Alright, double lift. We've changed his kill over time to reward for staying near his enemies for longer, but now he's missing the tools to do it safely. Want to give Victor players who regularly opt to a riskier playstyle the tools to divide the punishment they've been taking up close and personal. Turbocharge now increases the shield value by 60%. And Chaos Storm gets a buff of... Doesn't this just make Dunn's tank Victor build better? I don't think he's good. I don't think this changes his problems, because a lot of his problems mid lane against the champions that are good right now are that he can't handle the poke at the range that it's being dealt. Like, he can't even walk up the Q a lot of times against Azir because he's just getting punished really, really hard. Unless he lands, repeated E's and doesn't get forced back before his first, upgrade. And I think that, like, all this does is encourages the tank build to be better. Maybe top lane Victor is the real benefit from this. I guess it's interesting. Certainly, I know that a lot of people are gonna be playing tank Victor the first day and see if he can be brought top lane, because Victor is or has been oppressive against melee champions in the past. Oh, let's talk Zoe. This champion needs a nerf. So what did she get? 0.1 second off and up to 0.25. Current cooldown doesn't give opponents long enough windows to take advantage of. Really? I'll... Come on, man. I would have been down with a bunch of different ways they could have done this. CDR was one way on their main ability. I didn't expect it to be this soft. Luckily, I did look back in... I think I was looking at the patch note, just comments beforehand. And I think Riot... Here we go. One of the playtesters at Riot Games actually reached out and said that they're implementing Zoe changes that have larger implications, but they couldn't ship with this patch. So this looks like just a band-aid kind of nerf until they can ship like the real heavy-hitting nerf later. I do think though, band-aid wise, it could have been like a larger band-aid. I think the wound that Zoe creates is quite large. She is very, very good, and it feels very bad to play her against her. And so I would have been down for like a full, like a 2 second to 1 second cooldown reduction. I guess I can't complain about any Zoe nerfs, because anything is good for me, right? But this just is obviously very light-handed, and I'm hoping that the actual changes next patch are a lot better. Health regeneration, clean the base regenerations to include half or full numbers. That's completely irrelevant. Chogath visual effect upgrade. Okay, looks cool. Looks less visible. I have to see it in game. I think Q is the real big winner. That's cool. The feast looks exactly the same. What, he gets a little fire. Runes, inspiration tree, especially the combination of magic and footwear and perfect timing was giving too much gold advantage. When runes should be about what playstyle you want to opt into. Okay, so Unsealed Spellbook was supposed to be the keystone for players who want to swap summoners and alter their making utilities. Turns out that summoner spell use reduction is good even if you never swap all game. Reducing the amount of Unsealed Spellbook gives summoner cooldown goes down to by 25 to 15%. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. Summoner Spellbook is obviously overtuned. It's always a good thing to run. There may be better options, but it's always very good. If you're in a matchup where you can't use other keystones, you use Spellbook, because it gives you so much Summoner CDR. And the thing about Summoner CDR is it stacks additively with other stuff. So the 5% that you get in the inspiration tree, so you automatically get 30%, and if you buy boots, you get 40% Summoner CDR with CDR boots. And one of the problems right now is why it's so hard to get solo leads at the moment, especially mid lane, is that everyone's running Spellbook, right? So here's what happens mid lane. I've been harassing down. Oh, great! Like I did such a good job. I gave up CS. I'm like 3-4 CS ahead, but I'm up 2 pots. And I just forced you out of lane. Cool. You started to heal, and you didn't heal, so I just forced you out of lane. Now what's gonna happen? You're gonna switch your heal to teleport and come back to lane, and I'm not gonna get much of a large advantage for being, I would say, for trading better early game. And I think that Sure, that's okay. If you're taking TP at the very beginning, there should be that guarantee. However, I think that it's too good, and I think that this doesn't really solve the problem with Unsealed Spellbook, which is mid laners are just getting away with, or top laners are just getting away with murder right now, where they're going like Ignite, they're going Exhaust, and they're able to TP back to lane if they don't use it. Especially if they get ganked. Okay, they die. Cool. I'm just gonna switch my Ignite over to the teleport and teleport back to lane instantly. I think that there should be a small lockout for summoner spell usage, so you don't get abusable situations like this, and where you are forced to go like TP first in lane, so you don't have that continual power and you're easier to get ganked. There should be repercussions. Now, some people can't say, hey, look, Unsealed Spellbook allows these Ignite openers, which allow for higher kill pressure. Sure, but I would say that the opposite end of the spectrum is much more oppressive, where it's like they allow you too many easy ways back into lane. I think that yes, it needs a summoner spell CDR reduction, but it doesn't hit the real big problem of the fact that hey, I don't think I should be able to start it. I don't think I should be able to start heal, swap the TP, and teleport back that easily. So I would have preferred a nerf on that as well. Uh, didn't happen. Just saying, I would prefer that. The combination of magical footwear and perfect timing is really interesting. I will say, if you have not been using Dematerializer mid lane, get used to it because it is very, very good for being able to establish wave control, and especially at higher levels of play, you use it to coordinate with your jungler to be able to make movements into the enemy side of the river. And I would say get used to using it. It's very good. Now, what is this? Oh, this is just the contraptions where they switched out. So perfect timing. Oh, they nerfed the Zhonya's by 50, and the sell value goes to 20. This is a good nerf, but again, I don't think really the problem of Zhonya's isn't, or the early what you call it, stopwatch isn't like the gold value, although it is a problem. The problem is that it comes online too early. I think these are not hitting the right things. And tomorrow, cool, yeah, that's exactly what it says. Scoreboard now visually displays for your team. Vision score, I don't care about that. Keystones not show up at the end of the game screen. I guess it's actually kind of cool. Rotating game mode. I don't ever play these game modes. Bug fixes, just at a single glance. Don't really see anything that's super impactful. A character with a zombie ward rune no longer incorrectly creates zombie wards when killing a player summon trap. Oh, okay, I guess that's pretty important. But aside from that, and you can see the gold now on gold generation support items, which is cool to keep track of how much you are making, how much the opposing player is making. Okay, that's cool. Updating skins. 6 unreal good splash art. Will not look like that in game, but super good. Still pretty good. This is an amazing splash art, by the way. This is like background level. Like I'm pretty sure Lily put this as her background. Zion Khan. On here, they don't look that bad. I saw the in-game art. It didn't look that great. A bunch of different chromas for this. See, I don't mind chromas as long as the base skin is good. But if you're, but chromas on like bad skins just feel really bad. So like having chromas on these, like these look pretty cool. The skins themselves are pretty good, and so I don't mind. More emotes. I never use emotes, so these aren't for me. Um, oh, I guess these will be for the Lunar Festival / Valentine's. Okay, I'm single. I'm not going to use any of these. Okay, that is pretty much it for the patch. A lot of good things here, I think. Them nerfing Azir, them nerfing Kog'Maw, buffing Lucian, nerfing this Rise interaction, and nerfing Zoe, even if it's complete BS, and then nerfing Unsealed Spellbook. I think all really, really good. I think they missed the mark on Stopwatch, and they missed the mark on Zoe, when they obviously know they missed the mark on Zoe. But still, not a bad patch. Let's